The second method that we're going to use is using square roots. So notice in each of these equations that the x, or it could be any variable, is only located in one place. So yes, it's getting raised to the second power. Since the x is getting squared, I'm going to need to use a square root in order to solve for x. So the square root is going to be the last step. I'm going to otherwise isolate the variable how I would. So in number 4, the first thing I'm going to do is add 27 to both sides. So 3x squared equals 27. Then I'm going to divide by 3. So x squared equals 9. My last step is to introduce a square root to both sides because the square root of x squared is just x. And the square root of 9, you are not incorrect to say that 3, positive 3, is one answer, but there is another number that you also square and get positive 9, and that is negative 3. So you can either list out positive and negative 3, or you can put a plus minus in front of your final answer, because we don't know whether they want the positive answer or the negative answer, so I need to include both, a positive 3 and a negative 3. I'm not going to graph number 4, but if I did graph number 4, it would cross the x-axis not just at positive 3, but at negative 3 as well. So when you're taking this, you're introducing the square root, include a plus or minus. Number 5, same idea. I'm going to add 10 to both sides. X squared equals negative 10 plus 10 is 0. When I take the square root of both sides, x is equal to technically plus or minus 0, but you don't need the plus or minus when you're talking about 0 because they mean the same thing. If I were to graph number 5, it would only cross the x-axis at 0. Number 6, I'm going to subtract 11 from both sides. So negative 5x squared equals 5. Divide by negative 5, so x squared equals negative 1. So when I take the square root of both sides, I get that x is, I'm trying to take the square root of a negative number. And even if you took negative 1 and you squared it, you'd get a positive 1. So to try and take the square root of a negative number, there is no solution. So if I were to graph number 6, it would be one of those graphs that does not cross the x-axis. So just like with graphing, you can have 2 answers maybe because it's plus or minus 3. You can have 1 answer, it's just 0, or you can have no solution. So whenever the x is just located in one place, solve for it by introducing a square root after you isolate.